Good morning, students. Welcome to the statistics class. Once again, in the previous class, I was explaining to you about the classification of index numbers. Is it right? And I have told you how broadly the index numbers were been classified. Two main categories: unweighted and weighted. In unweighted, simple average of relatives, simple aggregative index numbers. In weighted average of relatives and weighted aggregative. Is it right? And I have explained to you all those three main categories, that is simple average of relatives, simple aggregative, and what are the formulas that comes under those categories. I have explained it to you. And now coming to the main and the last category, and the last classification, that is weighted aggregative index numbers. Remember this, students, and mark my words, majority of the problems and the maximum marks allotment is from the weighted aggregative index number, students. Now what is there on the board? So the problems will be based on these formulas, students. So you need to practice them thoroughly, and you need to write at least 3 to 4 times, so that this formula will be fixed in your mind. Because students, right, these are all problems where we really need to practice and be perfect with it. And these are the problems of 5 marks and 10 marks. When they are given for us, we need to solve them perfectly, step by step, and without doing any flaws or doing any errors. So you keep it in your mind, students. This is an important class, okay? And take this explanation once again, right, and download it in your YouTube videos. Watch it again and again. At the same time, you also start writing the formulas again and again and practice them. Okay, right? Shall we start? Okay, right. The first one that comes under weighted aggregative index numbers. Weighted aggregative index numbers. Okay, weighted aggregative index numbers. Now what are these weighted aggregative index numbers? There are 6 formulae which comes under this weighted aggregative index numbers. 6 formulae that comes under it. Number 1 is called as last year's index number, students. Last year's index number. Number 2 is Pasch's index number. Number 3 is Marshall-Edgeworth index number. Number 4 is Dobbish-Bowley index number. Number 5 is Fisher's index number. And number 6 is Kelly's index number, students. Okay? There are how many? There are 6. I repeat for you. Number 1, Laspier's index number. Number 2, Pasch's index number. Number 3, Marshall-Edgeworth index number. Number 4, Dobbish-Bowley index number. Number 5, Fisher's index number. Number 6, Kelly's index number. Okay. Now, important thing is, students, the way you write it. According to me, if ever you you learn the technique in writing the formula, you don't need to by heart also, students. You don't need to by heart also. Only you need to remember certain concepts which are there here. Okay? What are those? Let me tell you. When they said aggregative, you remember in aggregative, simple aggregative, what is the formula of simple aggregative? The simple aggregative formula is P01 is equal to summation P1 divided by summation P0 into 100. This is what it is said. Is it right? Summation P1 divided by summation P0 into 100. In the previous class itself, I have explained to you simple aggregative formula, that is current year prices total divided by the base year prices total into 100. Is it right? Now, last year's comes. First formula, last year's. The same thing is applied, students. Summation P1. Now, when the word weighted is there, I told you in the beginning in the classification, we also have to attach some quantities of consumption. We know they are important, but how they are important, we'll come to know their importance only according to the usage. Is it right? According to the usage means according to the quantities they consume, then we'll come to know. Is it right? So what comes here is the quantities, right? So quantities also will be one column. Quantities column also will be there. So we have to use the quantities relatively according to the formula. Now, quantities can be, students, of quantities can be of the base year also, which are used, sold. Quantities can be of the current year also. Quantities of base year is Q0, quantities of the current year is Q1. Is it right? Only two time periods here. Quantities of the base year we denoted as Q0, quantities of the current year is denoted as Q1. Is that right? So only using them we write this formula, students. See, I will show this to you here itself. Last year's index number. In the last year's index number, what quantities are used? That only you have to remember. Quantities of the base year are used. What quantities are used? Quantities of the base year are used. That is nothing but here in the formula summation P1 Q0 here in the numerator Q0, in the denominator Q0 into 100. If you write, you will get last year's index numbers. Here P01 L indicates last year's index number. Summation P1 Q0 divided by summation P0 Q0 into 100. Very clearly it is been written. Base year quantities are weights. Okay. The same thing even for last year in past years also. Instead of base year quantity, we use current year quantity, students. Simple. That is summation P1 Q1, summation P0 Q1 into 100. So you got past year's index number. Is it right? P01 P is equal to summation P1 Q1 divided by summation P0 Q1 into 100. This is called as Pashy's index number, students. Is that okay? Right? Now, the whole of index number, students, I am telling you the whole of index numbers. How much ever you do circus here and there, whatever you want you do, you will only see these four terms. What is that for? What are those four terms? So that is summation P1 Q0, summation P0 Q0, summation P1 Q1, summation P0 Q1, either representing it by Q or either representing by P or whatever it is, interchanging all this, you only will find these four terms, students. Whole of index number is this itself. Now that is why there will be a sort of confusion. So you should understand correctly. Last year's means what? Past year's index numbers means what? That is what you have to do. So now the remaining formulas also are based on last year's and past year's only, students. The remaining formula whatever we have, they are based on last year's and past year's itself. Now you see the next one. What is the next one? Marshall-Edgeworth index number. It is called as Marshall-Edgeworth index number. The same way it is taken as. The same way it is taken as. Aggregate is summation P1 divided by summation P0. But what did they do is they have taken average of the quantities. Average of the quantities they have taken, students. And they have simplified this. Multiplied, that is summation P1 into Q0, summation P1 into Q1. On that basis they got this formula. If you want, if you see clearly, summation P1 Q0 plus summation P1 Q1 divided by summation P0 Q0 plus summation P0 Q1 into 100. This is what is Marshall-Edgeworth index number. Okay. The next comes is Dawkish-Bawley index number. Again, Dawkish-Bawley index number is based on last year's and past year's only. They said very clearly it is the arithmetic mean of last year's and past year's. Arithmetic mean, how do you calculate? It is sum of the values divided by 2. How many values are there? Last year's is there, past year's is there. Only 2 values are there. Add them and divide by 2, you get Dawkish-Bawley index numbers. That is what it is here. P01L plus P01P divided by 2, you get that. Or if you don't know those things, let us write it in the expansion form of the formula. What is that P01L? It is summation P1 Q0 divided by summation P0 Q0 into 100. So 100 is common here in both. So I put the whole 100 outside. So summation for P01P, that is Pashy's index number, is summation P1 Q1 divided by summation P0 Q0, P0 Q1 into 100. You know, this is what is Dawkish-Bawley index number. There is a one mark question in this. What is the relationship between Dawkish-Bawley index number, last year's and past year's? Very simple, you have to say Dawkish-Bawley index number is the arithmetic mean of last year's and past year's. One mark, simple answer for it. Okay. The same way, likewise, Fisher's index number. When there is an arithmetic mean, there should be a geometric mean, students. Right? In index numbers, this is what is arithmetic mean, geometric mean. In the previous case also, I have seen arithmetic mean, geometric mean. Here also it is arithmetic mean, geometric mean. So Fisher's index number is a geometric mean. geometric mean of these two values. And how do you define geometric mean? It is the nth root of the product of n values. Is it right? Last year we have studied. What is geometric mean? It is the nth root of the product of n values. If there are 4 values, it is a fourth root of the product of 4 values. Or if it is 3 values are there, it is a cube root of the product of 3 values. And if it is there are 2 values, then it is a square root of the product of those 2 values. The same way, there are only 2 values we have, that is last year's and past year's, then it will be called as square root of last year's and past year's index number. Now what is last year's index number? The formula is summation P1 Q0 divided by summation P0 Q0. Summation P1 Q1 divided by summation P0 Q0 is past year's index number. Here also we have 100, here also we have 100, both we have 100. Let us take one common outside the bracket, and take all under root. This will be called as Fisher's index number. Again, one mark question that we come across here is, what is the relationship between Fisher's index number, last year's index number, past year's index number? The answer is Fisher's index number is the geometric mean of last year's and past year's index number. Okay? And the last one, very simple one, Kelly's index number. Kelly's. In this, we don't use base year quantities nor we use current year quantities. Only just quantities are mentioned. Which quantities, from where they are bought, we don't know. Okay? They only have given us quantity, we are going to use it. So the same way you see here, the formula P01 is equal to summation P1Q divided by summation P0 Q. No Q0, Q1, nothing. Only P1Q divided by P0 Q into 100. This is what we have it regarding these weighted index numbers. Now weighted price index numbers. Now altogether, how many students we have learned formulae? Around, how many? Around 11 of them, students. How many problems? How many formulae? 11. In the previous class I have told you 5, and in this class I have told you 6. All these 11 formulae are from price index numbers. Remember, they are price index numbers. That's why you see everywhere it is P01, 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 P01. It's all about price index numbers. Is it right? All about price index numbers. Now, if I ask you one question, how many types of index numbers are there? Can you answer? There are 3 types. What are the 3 types? Price index number, quantity index number, value index number. We learned about price index number. Now how to do about quantity index number? Very simple, students. Quantity index number, what we need to do is we only have to interchange P to Q, Q to P. That's it. You understand? In all the formulae, whatever we have studied, if they ask you quantity index numbers, wherever you find P, you replace it by Q, and wherever you have Q, replace it by P. Like, very simple. This itself, to speak about last year's itself, starting with this P. If they ask last year's quantity index number, here P is there, we have to write Q, Q01L. Okay, then what would be summation P1 Q0 P, summation P, in place of P what do you have to write? Q, Q1, and in place of Q we have to write P0 divided by summation Q10 and P0 into 100. Wherever you find P, you have to replace it by Q, and wherever you have Q, you have to replace it by P. This is what you need to do, students. That's it. Another 10 formula that you can write it from this quantity index numbers. Okay, so this can be an assignment to you, students. Try to write that. Okay, write once and show it to me. But when you are practicing, students, keep it in your mind. I wanted to say this to you. You don't need to practice about quantity index numbers. Never practice quantity index number. Only you practice this 11 formula what I showed it to you in the classes. Only practice them. Okay. And when during the examination, when they ask quantity index numbers of a particular, like for example, as I said, last year's quantity index numbers, what you can do is first in a pencil, somewhere in the corner, you can write last year's price index number. Then you can convert that into last year's quantity index number. So if you learn both, confusions will be there. So don't learn quantity index numbers. You only have to write once and keep it in your note. But when you are learning index numbers, remember this, you always have to practice only price index numbers. I hope you have understood, students. Okay, so in the next class we begin with the formulae, we begin with the problems, starting from all the varieties of index numbers that we come across. Okay, take care, have a nice day.